Faith is believing in what you cannot see. The reward of that faith is to see what you have believed in. St. Augustine. Faith is the miraculous power of consciousness, helping us transcend the narrow limits of our senses. It is the moment when the mind breaks free from the bonds of immediate perception, daring to open itself wide to the countless possibilities still hidden from view. Like a farmer sowing seeds into the deep, silent earth, where everything lies invisible yet trusting with all his heart that beneath that soil, life is quietly germinating and rising with full vitality. Faith is the most refined form of perception, the place where a person dares to embrace uncertainty as an essential part of the journey of growth. When we believe in what we cannot yet see, we are honing our ability to endure doubt, bravely facing the fear of being wrong, and overcoming the instinct to control everything. It is precisely in that realm of ambiguity that the soul becomes more flexible, profound, and resilient than ever before. The reward of faith does not come as a sudden miracle, but as a gentle, gradual unfolding. What we once believed in slowly reveals itself clearly, like light slipping through a crack in the door, proving that faith is not a distant illusion, but the way we see beyond present reality. Faith is not only the starting point, but also the golden bridge connecting what does not yet exist with what will come to be. It nurtures hope, keeps the mind steady amid adversity, and bestows upon us a quiet but remarkably enduring strength. In a world full of change, where everything can shift in the blink of an eye, faith is the inner compass, not only helping us keep moving forward, but also allowing us to see what others have not yet noticed. When you are happy, do not make promises. When you are angry, do not reply. When you are upset, do not make decisions. Persian proverb, a profound philosophy that reflects the three most powerful emotional states of the human heart, moments when reason is often swept away by the raging waves of inner turmoil. Each surging emotion is like a tidal wave. When it rises high, it not only carries us away, but also blurs the horizon of clear judgment. Joy makes us overly generous, easily offering promises like petals scattered in the spring, wind beautiful yet fragile and hard to hold. Anger is a fire that explodes in the mind, burning away calm and turning words into uncontrolled, sharp arrows that leave deep wounds. And sorrow is a thick fog that distorts every perspective, making decisions heavy and tinged with pessimism. Not to deny emotions, but to clearly recognize their power. When we learn to pause our reactions in moments of intense emotion, we are handing control back to reason, the clearest and most lucid part of ourselves. That is the subtle art of living, knowing how to step back when the mind is swaying, like a wise sailor who does not dare set sail in the midst of a storm. And it is precisely in that silence that we regain balance, so that our words, promises, and decisions are no longer fleeting products of emotion, but the distilled essence of maturity and profound wisdom. Do or do not, there is no try. Yoda, try is often a clever disguise for the fear of failure. It creates the illusion that we are acting, but in reality, it keeps us forever in the safe zone where there is always an escape without full accountability. When we say, "I will try," we unconsciously leave a door open for giving up, scattering our will and preventing our energy from converging enough to produce real results. Doing is an absolute commitment, the state in which the self dares to accept risk, even the possibility of failure, yet still moves forward with all its inner strength. It is like diving into the water, instead of standing on the shore, testing the temperature. Only by fully committing do we truly learn how to swim. In the moment we remove the concept of trying, the mind becomes clearer and more focused, for there is no longer room for hesitation. Every mental resource, will, discipline, and creativity is mobilized in a single direction. not to encourage blind recklessness, but to emphasize the power of wholehearted dedication. It demands that we confront ourselves honestly, stepping forward with complete determination, even if we are not yet fully ready. And it is precisely that honesty that awakens unparalleled strength. For in life, the things that truly hold value are not born from half-hearted experiments, but from the moments when a person dares to stake everything, their full faith and action, on a single path where there is no turning back, only radiant growth. You must find a place deep within yourself where nothing is impossible. Deepak Chopra, that deep place, is the primal core of the self, untouched by fear, prejudice, or memories of failure. It is like an underground spring. The surface may be dry and barren, yet beneath it flows silently, nourishing the life force we so often forget. People usually live on the surface of the mind, where limits are shaped by old experiences and the gaze of others. But when we dare to dive deep, we reach a different state, where possibility is no longer measured by, have I done it before, but by, how far am I willing to go? It is there that the idea of impossible begins to dissolve, for it is merely a product of fear and self-defense. When we reach this core, the mind becomes supple and flexible, like steel, forged in fire, able to bend without breaking. Yet the journey to that place is neither loud nor glamorous. It requires deep stillness, honest confrontation with oneself, and sometimes the courage to accept the weaknesses we once avoided. But it is that very paradox that opens the door to strength. The more we understand our limits, the less they control us. And from that depth, a new kind of faith is born, not blind optimism, but a quiet certainty that if will and perseverance remain, there is always a path, even if we cannot yet see it. Do not let a bad day make you think your whole life is bad. That is the tendency to exaggerate a fleeting emotion into an eternal truth. When we go through a bad day, the brain often paints the entire picture in dark shades, as if a small cloud could eclipse the vast sky. This is a natural mechanism of the mind, but also a subtle trap where one negative moment is inflated into the definition of an entire life. In truth, a single day is merely a thin slice of time, like one isolated frame in the long film of life. If we stop at that frame and hastily draw conclusions, we unwittingly miss the depth and richness of the whole story. A bad day may bring failure, misunderstanding, or fatigue, but it has no right to represent the entire journey we have lived and are still living. Life, like a vast ocean, cannot be defined by a single turbulent wave. What matters is not avoiding dark days altogether, something almost impossible, but keeping our perception from being swept away by them. When we learn to separate a temporary experience from the essence of life, we begin to reclaim control. A day may go wrong, but life continues with countless possibilities yet to unfold. And it is in that clarity that we stand firm amid endless change, knowing that darkness is only temporary and light always finds a way to return in full brilliance. I always do the things I cannot do, so that I may learn how to do them. Picasso, a powerful declaration about personal growth. Instead of waiting for perfect confidence before beginning, we begin in order to awaken that confidence within ourselves. It is like stepping into a pitch-dark room, not because we already see the path clearly, but because we trust that our eyes will gradually adjust to the darkness and find the light. What we call impossible is really only the temporary boundary of our current experience. When we avoid things we have never done, we unconsciously reinforce that wall of limitation. But when we dare to plunge in, even clumsily at first, we are creating the first cracks in that solid wall. Each attempt trains the nervous system to adapt. Every mistake becomes a precious signal for adjustment, and small steps accumulate into genuine ability. Accepting imperfection as an indispensable part of the journey of growth. The one who dares to do what they cannot yet do is not reckless, but someone who understands that ability is not the starting point, but the result of courageous action. Just as muscles only grow when stretched to their limit, intelligence and courage only blossom when placed in challenges that push beyond the familiar comfort zone. It is precisely the things we once thought we could never do that become the doors leading to a stronger, more radiant version of ourselves. And when we dare to step through those doors enough times, impossible gradually loses its meaning, giving way to a new realization. The greatest limit has never been in external circumstances, but in whether we dare to begin. Take care of your body. It is the only place you have to live. Rohn. The body is not merely a vehicle, but the most primal and sacred home of consciousness. People often treat the body like a tool to be exploited endlessly, staying up late, skipping meals, enduring constant stress as if it will always endure without protest. Yet every careless act is a small crack in the very foundation of our life. Body and mind are not separate, but interwoven like two sides of a living stream. When the body is exhausted, the mind becomes heavy and gloomy. When the body is cared for properly, the spirit becomes clear, flexible, and full of vitality. It is like living in a house. If we neglect cracked walls, leaky roofs, and stagnant air, no matter how luxurious the exterior decorations, true peace cannot exist. On the other hand, when the space inside is tended with care, every breath becomes lighter, every thought clearer and more orderly. Caring for the body is not a luxury, but the deepest responsibility to ourselves. It is how we listen to the subtle signals, fatigue, pain, tension, and respond with genuine care instead of indifference. When we eat mindfully, move regularly, and rest at the right times, we do not merely extend life, but elevate the quality of every moment of existence. For in the end, every experience in life, joy, sorrow, success, or failure, must pass through this very body. It is the only bridge between us and the vast world, and when we truly cherish and preserve that home, we not only live longer, but live more deeply and fully with every beat of our heart. We do not remember days, we remember moments. The way human memory works is truly special. Not like a steady calendar, but like a string of sparkling highlights where emotion etches deeper than time itself. The brain does not store life as a continuous flow, but selects meaningful moments, those seconds that make the heart stir, that make us laugh, feel pain, love, or awaken profoundly. Ordinary days pass like a pale gray sky, while moments are brilliant flashes of lightning strong enough to leave an eternal mark on the soul. This explains why long stretches of time seem to disappear from memory, while a single brief moment can remain vivid for a lifetime. A glance, a sincere word, a daring step out of the comfort zone, they become anchors for the soul. Places we return to redefine ourselves. Time, after all, is not measured by the number of days we live, but by the depth of what we have truly experienced. If we live superficially, letting days slip by unconsciously, memory becomes faded like a painting without color. But if we are fully present in every moment, paying attention, feeling, and committing completely, even the most ordinary seconds can become something we remember forever. Like a masterful photographer, we do not need to capture everything, only the perfect moment when the light is just right. The value of life lies not in lengthening time, but in making each moment meaningful and radiant. Once we understand this, we no longer merely pass through life, but truly begin to live second by second, minute by minute, as if every moment could become a precious memory kept for a lifetime. Forgive yourself for what you did not know until you learned it. Zig Ziglar. A gentle invitation to the inner self, where we stop being the harshest judge of ourselves, we often fall into a dangerous illusion, believing we should have known from the beginning. But in reality, understanding always follows experience. We truly comprehend something only after we have walked through it, just as we see the road clearly only after traveling far enough along it. Self-blame for not knowing is actually a distortion of memory. We use our present understanding to condemn our past, less experienced self. It is like scolding a child for not solving a math problem it has never been taught. When we do not forgive, we imprison ourselves in a cycle of regret and shame, turning the journey of growth into a burden rather than a natural and beautiful adventure. Forgiving ourselves is not avoiding responsibility, but recognizing the true nature of the learning process. Every mistake, every imperfect choice is valuable data for building wisdom. It is like learning to walk. No one stands steady without having fallen. And if we keep blaming ourselves for those stumbles, we forget that those very falls taught us how to keep our balance. When we learn to treat ourselves with genuine compassion, a miraculous transformation occurs. The past is no longer a burden, but a solid foundation. We are no longer trapped in what-ifs, but shift toward, from here, what can I do better? And in that transformation, we grow not only in awareness, but also in compassion, beginning with ourselves, then spreading outward to the world around us. Nothing haunts us more than the things we do not speak. Mitch Albom. The darkest, most silent corner of the mind, where suppressed emotions do not disappear, but quietly change form to persist. The things left unsaid are like sounds trapped in the chest. They do not ring out, yet they vibrate with a dull ache, creating invisible pressure day and night. We think silence is the way to forget, but in truth, silence only allows them to exist in a deeper, harder to reach form. The unspoken words, perhaps love, regret, hurt, or harsh truth, often become knots inside us. They repeat in our thoughts like an unfinished film without an ending, because the mind always craves completion. When an emotion is not expressed, it is not released. When a story is not told, it cannot close. And it is that very incompleteness that creates the haunting feeling, not loud, but persistent and silent, like an echo in an empty room. The paradox is that we often fear speaking because of possible external consequences, yet fail to see the heavier price paid inside. Each time we suppress something that needs to be voiced, we add another layer of weight to the soul, making it feel cramped and breathless. On the other hand, when we dare to speak, even if imperfectly, even if our voice trembles, we create a profound release. The outcome may not always be what we hoped, but at least the truth has been brought into the light, and the mind no longer has to keep it locked in the shadows. True strength does not lie in staying silent to avoid disruption, but in knowing when to raise our voice to free ourselves. For sometimes, what exhausts us most is not what has happened, but what remains trapped deep inside, never yet put into words.